Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Dungeons and Dopamine. Da-da.
Hello, welcome to episode 76 of Dungeons and Dopamine. I'm Bre.
I'm Jess.
And we're back.
Yay!
We have a kind of serious topic to make fun of today. We're going to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like us taking on a very serious topic would be very smart.
Yeah.
We don't do serious very well.
I mean, you talk about murders pretty well.
That's true, but we can disassociate. Except for my Sarah Stearns episode. That was so disturbing.
It was really tough.
But anyway.
Zach and Connor have been watching Expedition Unknown.
Oh, sure, yeah, I've heard of it.
And they just did an episode on boats.
Boats.
In the Great Lakes. And there was a specific type of boat, but they were in Lake Superior a whole bunch. And I kept hoping, I was like, they're going to find Old Whitey! And they didn't. They found some other boats. Apparently there are a lot of boats to be found in Lake Superior. So you didn't even find all the interesting ones.
Dang it.
Isn't that insane? I
used to know the number of shipwrecks in Lake Michigan, and it was vast.
I don't, so
but
they said, like, the number of, and I only know this because we just watched the episode, it was like, there's like 500 or more in Lake Superior, but it's a total of like 6,000 through the whole all of the Great Lakes, so
Holy
all five
cow.
of them.
Yeah.
And when Zach went on a sailing trip a couple weeks ago, and some of the sailors they met told them that learning to sail in Lake Michigan is just as good as learning to sail in the ocean, because Lake Michigan can be just as dangerous and the conditions can change just as quickly as the ocean. That
breaks my brain because it's just here and down the road,
it's
and
just our lake. Yeah. Like even we have a ton of deaths every year to drowning because people come from out of state, or they come from more inland lakes, being towards the middle of the state or whatever, and they get to Lake Michigan and they're like, oh, it's a lake, but it's more like an ocean. It's huge, and we get these like horrific riptides.
Yeah.
That will, like, we are trained as children how to get out of a riptide, and
yeah, and how to test while you're walking along the beach if it. Like, to put your foot out so you can feel it. And I mean, we've even been in the water during storms, which was so stupid because we were young and dumb.
Yeah.
And it's strong.
It's crazy how big our waves will get.
Yeah.
There was one of our local group Facebook pages, you know, the part of Lake Michigan that we're near has an inlet to a very small lake, and we have that channel. And we've had a lot of wind and crazy water or rain over the last couple weeks, and it changes the inlet to that lake so quickly and so often. We had people on Facebook just this week that were like, did somebody bring in big equipment and like close off the channel? What's going on? And people were like, no, that was just from the wind over the last day.
Well, we actually do bring in machines to move sand around every year around this time, because otherwise it will go away.
Yeah, because the wind like completely closes it off sometimes. It's crazy.
I had heard that there are homes in Silver Lake that used to just be homes on the lake that the sand has taken over, and now they can't do anything with the homes because they're protected, because our dunes are protected, but they've shifted so much. This actually is my grandpa telling me this, and he's 92. It's been around a while, but he said that he remembers these houses being just houses, and now they're under sand.
Yeah. You get it was just since Connor's been born, there was a house right on the edge of the dunes that was like under watch, because you could see the dunes just getting closer and closer to taking it over.
That's
every
so
year.
Crazy.
I mean, we have it's an issue in the township right now where we have a house that, you know, when it was built was way off the side of the dune, but the way the erosion has happened over the years, it's actually falling into the lake at this point. The dune has eaten away at their ground, and they've got to do they've either got to basically pick the house up and move it back, or put a lot of money into like a retaining wall and tearing down the pieces of the house that are already at risk, and then reinforcing it with like crazy amounts of steel and rebar and all sorts of stuff.
That can all just shift again because it's not going to stop.
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
with walls and stuff.
look at what's happening in Florida right now.
Yeah.
This hurricane is horrific, and it's going to change the landscape of Florida, but the weather that it sends up, the weather that it causes nationwide can affect what happens up here and the amount of rain we get and the wind that whips through.
After the last one, we got a really good rainstorm.
Yeah, like 9 inches just in our little area. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. It's so hard. It's so hard to understand what weather and sand and the world can actually just do. It's just crazy to think about.
The power of it.
What a weird topic.
That was a weird branch off for an introduction for us.
And we just talked about how we can't be serious, and now here we are being kind of serious.
Calmly discuss weather patterns and how climate change is making houses fall into the...
So anyway.
Yeah.
Super clever transition.
There's a movie being made about the Dogman. It's
What?
not the Dogman of Michigan, but Hank did point out that
That's
there's
right.
a Dogman movie being
Hit
made.
the table that our mics are on.
So excited! But it is the Dogman written by Dave Pilkey, who is also the author of Captain Underpants, who Connor adores. And Connor and I are very excited about this Dogman movie.
Oh, that's so cute. I did think it was going to be like a horror movie. We should try to work on that. Dogman of Michigan, brought to you by Dungeons and Dopamine Podcast.
Can it be like one of those awful horror movies that's...
I mean, if we make it, it's going to be. So.
Like Blair Witch style.
Oh, we could just film it in our woods.
Perfect. We're experts at decorating scary
Yes.
woods. There's still some creepy guys in my woods.
That makes sense. Oh, she's talking about like dummies, not like real creepy guys.
I don't keep creepy men in my woods.
Is there still a playset?
Yes. It looks very creepy now. Actually.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, like natural decomposition is actually exceptionally
An actual
scary.
branch fell on it, not just the one that I strategically placed on it. Connor totally called me out this week about how we have all of those Halloween decorations, and I have not decorated for Halloween since that Halloween party.
Oh, yeah, I have a few Halloween things and have really lost my fervor for... I decorate for fall. It's like actually Ryan's favorite time. And so he likes all the decorations and everything. So I do that, and Carly loves helping. Mm-hmm. But I just don't really get into the Halloween decorations. It's so fast, and it's there and gone. At least fall, I get to keep up until whenever I want, because really Michigan can always be fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you go straight into Christmas, and it's fine.
We know that I Christmas here.
Absolutely.
Now I get to double Christmas. There's so
2
much
floors
space
of
for
Christmas.
activities. So yeah, speaking of Christmas,
This is... Yeah, I mean, absolutely related. Going into the Christmas season, we're going to give you permission not to care about your family.
or friends.
Or friends.
Just punch your children.
Then they won't care about Christmas. And they'll be taken away from you, so you don't need to buy them presents.
You might even get to go somewhere where they feed you and house you.
This is our episode of Unethical Life Pro Tips.
No. But boundaries.
Boundaries.
Have you ever set any boundaries around Christmas?
Yes, actually. We have started setting some firmer boundaries every year. So we're trying to be more intentional with how we celebrate the holiday. We still celebrate, and we try to focus on gratitude and, the spirit of love and all of the good things about Christmas that aren't centered on the religious part of it. But it has meant we've had to set some boundaries about how we're going to celebrate the day. We don't want to do a bunch of gifts anymore. We don't want the holiday to be about gifts. So it's, you know,
we're filling up your house with more stuff that you don't need. And
yeah. So we you know, had the conversation last year with all the families that we're just not doing it anymore. There are still some gifts we buy because it's tradition, or we do like to give gifts, but we don't make it around that anymore. You know, we're not exchanging gift cards with my brother every year anymore, because all we were doing was exchanging the same amount of gift cards.
Right. Here's $50 to Meijer. Thanks. Here's $50 to Walmart.
Yeah. And you know, stuff with Zach's family, we had already switched to like, it should be homemade or from a secondhand store or something like that. But we went a lot for, now we only do like handmade, or we'll do food gifts.
Oh,
like
sure.
We'll make
I like that.
Miniature pans of lasagna that they can freeze, or loaves of bread or whatever. So, you know, something that we know that they could use, that they'll use right away. It's not going to be tchotchke that sits on their shelves. And then we also really calmed down like who we see and when. It's not a full day of, we have to rush here and we have to be here by this time, and this you know, super scheduled throughout the day.
And it's so stressful. Christmas is supposed to be fun. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be a family fun, or friends, or who maybe you don't want to go and you just want to sit at your house and enjoy pretty Christmas lights. And that's what it's supposed to be. Just not
like a joyful time of year.
Yes, not freaking out because you have to go to this party and that party, and I have to be here at this time, and I can only eat half a meal because by the time I get there, I need to eat a whole other meal,
and I've got to dress a certain way, and I have to send all these cards, and I have to have the, you know, make sure my gift for the white elephant party measures up to what the other people are going to bring for the white elephant gift. It's become a really hard holiday. But one thing that has made it easier, and kind of what we want to talk about today, is we set some pretty, and part of this was a journey with Zach's parents. We set some pretty hard boundaries with who we spend time with. And Zach's parents set their own boundaries with their siblings not that long ago, where we don't see that side of the family anymore. That significantly cut down on our holiday stress, because it had become a holiday of show.
Yes.
You know, we have to make it to this, and we have to wear our nice clothes, and we have to bring our nice bottle of wine and have our stories for how great our life has been all year, so we can put on the show for family. And we don't do that anymore. And that has probably been the best boundary we could set.
And I feel like people, maybe not just our age, I hope it's not just our age, but I feel like people are setting more boundaries with family and friends, and even so much as going no contact with people. So there's no contact, there's low contact, there's techniques like I wrote down stonewalling and gray rocking. I've heard both terms used, but basically you will not talk to this family member about, you know, your wedding, because they've been calling the vendors and changing things about it.
Right.
Or every time you say something about, you know, your kid, they have another story about how much better their kid is about, you know.
Or parenting advice about what you're doing wrong.
Yes.
So
stonewalling or gray rocking is when you ask me that question, how's Carly been? I'll you know, the same old, and then I'm changing the topic typically to something that I know you're suddenly going to talk about and forget all about me. Oh yeah, you know, normal, regular, how's Connor? And, you know, if you're that, not saying you are, but if you're that parent who wants to one-up everybody else, you're going to go
I just gave you the key to...
Yes. And now you've forgotten that you wanted to hear anything about mine.
That's a great one. Especially if you have, like, a family member that is constantly comparing the kids, or, like, I had an aunt that was very critical of me because I was doing better than her son. So giving her any fuel about my life or what my achievements were or what I was doing gave her this start to where it would, you know, all of a sudden she's negging me or comparing us or, making it a negative experience. So by not allowing any information, well, how's Brienne doing? Oh, she's fine. How's so-and-so? Oh, well, let me tell you about all the cool stuff he's done over the last 6 months.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly it. And I like that technique. Honestly, I like that technique a lot of times. I have a really hard time with some people just need their way and their thoughts to be right. And I don't always think that they're right. And so I use that technique a lot to go, oh, that's interesting, and change the topic. Because I don't like people who think that they're right so hard that you can't be right. I'm trying to be careful how I say this.
Maybe we're too nice to do this topic.
But I also do know the people I have in my mind right now have actually been cut off by some of their own family because they don't want to deal with it anymore. Or they will punish them by not speaking to them, or fill in the blank with whatever punishment they can come up with. And it always has bothered me so much. Just get a grip. Anyway, sorry,
just be an adult.
My rant. The beginning of my rant. I can rant so rantily.
I think, the no boundaries, the low contact, no contact. I think it is definitely kind of a recent thing, which, every generation can only do a little bit better than the generation that raised them.
Yes.
And so we're starting to realize those things. And obviously there are extreme cases where it should have, or needs to be done, and it should have been done ages ago, or, abuse situations where it's very obvious. But I think our generation is finally realizing it doesn't matter. Blood is, what are all the sayings?
Blood is not thicker
blood is
than
thicker
water,
than water.
It's
family. You have to. It's a.
But we're family.
It's non-negotiable. It's just the way it always has been. And I think I kind of have always had a unique view on this because I just didn't come from a family that was close to family. My mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family, both of my grandpas were kind of the black sheep of the family. We didn't go to family reunions. We didn't have big get-togethers. I have a whole bunch of aunts and uncles on my dad's side, but we still weren't close. It was just like big holidays. So marrying into a family that was very much appearances and, family is important. Family is all that matters. You have to show up for family. It doesn't matter. It was hard for me to not just sit back and be like, but why? Like, why do you keep putting up with it?
But why do you let them say that?
Why are we still? Why do we have to go? Why are we doing this? Because in my family, it was just like, no, we don't like those people. They treated us poorly. We're not going to see them for 20 years.
I think this is kind of a weird, but bear with me. I actually think like the Me Too movement. I think
was that when
so much
the iPhones went through and made you take that YouTube CD?
Yes, that's exactly. I really think that changed the world.
It just made a difference.
Oh, it's very serious. I'm not laughing at it.
Sorry.
I'm just laughing that I'm dumb. The Me Too movement, I think, helped a lot because a lot of times when you look back and you read stories from people whose grandparents or parents or whatever, great-grandparents, dealt with a situation like rape or abuse, they were expected to just shut up and don't talk about it.
Yeah, just keep your kids away from that uncle.
Yeah.
Like, we all know, we all went through it.
But he's still going to get invited to Christmas.
But he's family.
And he's family, so he's my brother. She's my sister. Whatever. You
still have to sit next to her at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I think that people being like, I don't have to take this. This is disgusting.
And knowing how widespread it was.
Yes.
Knowing that you weren't the only one that had dealt with that or had a family like that. It's empowering to not feel alone in those situations.
Yes.
And it gave a voice to all the people who thought it was normal, who had been raised in families that, this is just how it is. And then all of a sudden the media is telling you like, no, that sucks. That shouldn't have happened to you.
Normal. Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, wait, what?
Yeah. And I think that helps a lot because you can cut them off. And I'm not saying that kind of abuse is the only reason you have to set a boundary because frankly, if someone is whatever, you can set a boundary. You don't have to stick around. I'm trying to think of a good example, but if someone, friend or family, doesn't treat you well when you're together, they talk down on you, they
insult your family members, and
you have the right to cut them off or low contact with them, if you do truly love them, and it's not something sexual or physical or, something along those lines.
Something that's not harming you.
Yeah, you just don't like that they're always negative or always playing the victim or whatever. Or they're really nice to you for 25 minutes and then the picking starts. You can cut low contact. You don't need to deal with that. You don't need to spend all day there. You don't need to call for 4 hours.
You don't have to show up to the things they go to.
Yes. I read a lot of this on Reddit, and I see a lot of it on TikTok. I think a lot of it leads back to narcissism, which, okay, I know I've done the topic, but it was a really long time ago. Technically, right now, narcissism as a diagnosis has not increased, which really surprises me. However, we will remember that narcissism is really hard to diagnose because a lot of narcissists think that they're great. They don't want to go get diagnosed. They have nothing wrong with them.
Why would they need a diagnosis?
Exactly.
They're not talking to anybody that would need to diagnose them with anything.
Exactly. So there's that. But there's also the fact that we are vastly overusing the term narcissist, which I did mention the last time. I think sometimes the moment someone has a different opinion or a different viewpoint from you, they are suddenly a narcissist. Or someone who doesn't hold the door open for you at the grocery store is a narcissist because they didn't think of you while they
didn't think outside themselves.
Yeah. So I think that maybe some of this is that we're just overusing the word. But I wonder if it's just them being called out more now. And maybe the number of narcissists isn't larger, but the narcissistic behavior is just being pointed out. Or I don't know. There's just a lot to it. I could see that.
Absolutely.
Something really weird. This sort of feels like it's off topic again, but bear with me. I have been doing a lot of research on perimenopause. It's been popping up in my feed, and that kind of leads you down the rabbit hole to menopause. And did you know that your hormones go so crazy that you are literally like sometimes hairpin trigger, like raging and stuff?
Yeah.
So I have to wonder too if some of that is this. Like,
we vastly underestimate how much our hormones play a part in our day-to-day lives. Not only like how you react to things, but how your memory is and how motivated you feel and what can set you off. I don't think it's new research, but it's not well known. If you struggle a lot with like PMS symptoms, the new term, it's the PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Pepsid AC, just like it can't be the omeprazole, it's got to be the famotidine anti-reflux medication.
Sure.
Stops like a huge percentage of PMDD symptoms, like in its tracks.
So weird.
Like just taking a dose of a Pepsid anti-gastric, whatever it's called, just destroys these symptoms. And so they're relating, it's got to have something to do with like a histamine reaction.
Yeah.
So your body is literally reacting poorly to the hormones in your system and causing an inflammatory reaction to it. How are we, like, we're so screwed. How do you even fight against that? You're fighting against your body, like attacking itself for having hormones that are naturally produced because of the time of life that you're in.
Or hormones that are being reduced.
Yeah.
Because of that. See, yeah, basically they can make you crazy, which also, side note, just makes me rethink all of the like Karen videos out there.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are women of perimenopause or menopausal age who probably can't understand even why themselves they're acting
and can't
like this.
Control it. Like there are so many days I just break down crying and what is wrong with me? And then the next day my period starts and I'm like, oh.
All right.
And if you're not a woman or if you are lucky enough not to have symptoms like that, it literally feels crazy in your brain.
And then you beat yourself up for being crazy.
And even while it's happening in your brain, you're like, maybe I'm overreacting to this, but I don't know how to stop crying right now. I just can't stop crying. And then the next day you're like, holy cow, that was crazy.
So, where I was heading, because I completely agree with you and feel the exact same way. But where I was going with that was just a lot of the stories I hear of people cutting people off. I just say a lot of them are mothers, like daughters and mothers being cut off from each other. And that might be because that's where my For You page has been trained to go. Not that I've cut my mother off. My mom's fine.
She's more than fine, okay?
Yeah, she's great.
She's great.
I'm going to call her right now.
Love you, Mom.
She actually did text me while we were doing this, but I think it's just a video or something. Anyway, I wonder if that has a lot to do with why suddenly it's a big increase in that. Because either we as daughters... Sorry, I know that this isn't just a mother-daughter thing, but we as daughters, as we get into this stage, have really, really... short tempers, small triggers, or our parents, our mothers are in that menopausal phase where they have this,
right?
And this is happening for them,
and we're fighting against each other essentially.
But I also think that so basically, I was just saying there might be big reasons for it, narcissism, medical reasons, but I don't think you have to apologize for it if this is something that you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and this isn't an episode to say you should cut people off at the drop of a hat,
right,
or that no contact is the only option for anybody that disagrees with you or makes you feel bad or whatever. There are bad days. There are days where your friend is going to say something that hurts, whether it's honest or not, or said in the heat of the passion,
maybe they're
anger moment.
Perimenopausal.
Right. We don't have to cut off everybody that hurts us. And I don't know if it's really becoming a trend in our generation to cut people off at the drop of a hat, but we're not advocating for that either.
No.
You should work on skills to communicate and solve issues, but for the people in your lives that are intentionally hurtful or narcissistic, or you've been made to feel like you have to put up with them because they're family, or they did something for you at some point in your life, whether it's family or not, somebody, even just a friend that you have known so long, you feel like you have to stay their friend. You don't have to.
Yeah.
We're giving you permission. Do your own internal work on if the situation calls for a no contact or a boundary or whatever.
Or if the person might respond to sitting down and having a conversation. I've had a few of these experiences in my life, and one of them, a conversation would not have fixed anything. One of them, I'm going to be completely frank, I didn't think deserved having a conversation. It was a case where they were just abusive to me. Not physically, but verbally. And I gave so many chances to let that slide and couldn't take it anymore. Felt like I'm worth more than this, and this needs to end. So you have that option. You can sit down with people and say, look, I cannot take this anymore. You beat me down every time we see each other, or I heard what you said, or whatever it is. But yeah, you have that right, and you should think it through, and you shouldn't let people beat you down.
And you also have the right to choose how to deal with these people, whether you want to go no contact and also set boundaries with people. If you see this person, please don't update them on my life. Please don't tell them how I'm doing. Here's a response you can give them if they ask about me.
I do not want them to have pictures of my children.
Right.
I don't
Don't tell them when Connor's soccer games are, because I don't want them to be able to show up at the
They're
field.
not welcome.
Don't tell them what my new job is, because I don't want them to know where I work. But it also doesn't have to be that firm. It can be as simple as, we're not really friends anymore. I don't care if she sees my Facebook. I don't care if you tell her how I'm doing, but I'm not gonna hang out with her. I'm not gonna reach out to her. If she's at the same party I'm at, cool. I can be civil, but it's just not somebody I'm gonna put effort into anymore.
Exactly.
It might not have to be so severe as don't even say my name.
Yes,
but
exactly. Or if they're gonna be there, I'm not gonna be there.
Right.
It can be really hard. We're making it sound like it's really easy.
Oh goodness.
But
no.
I have it noted, for me, I'm not going to get too deep into the situations, but it took a long time for me to get to where I was and get to that point that I was over it. I wasn't even trying anymore. And there's so much pressure from society, but that's your fill in the blank here. Your best friend since you were in 4th grade. Mm-hmm. I'm not cutting you off, but
I won't let you. So
hi, I'm here to record. I told you can't come here. Let's go upstairs.
Get upstairs, Jessica.
But yeah. Well, you guys have been friends for so long. Why would you do that?
You just ghosted her? You just disappeared?
Right. And as I said, this isn't me and my mom, but that's your mother. Mm-hmm. I did read, so I ended up in Reddit.
Of course.
And a lot of people talking about their circumstances. And it was, I think, specifically a narcissism board, which I feel like a lot of this leads to that, even if it's just narcissistic traits in people. But one girl said, everybody keeps saying, but that's your mom. And she said, I keep wondering if anybody says, but that's your daughter to her. Because you're right.
Yeah.
Like that never crossed my mind. You're right. Mm-hmm. And, that's your fill in the blank here. They might have been your kindergarten teacher and you've been with them since then or whatever. Not been with them.
Right.
That's a whole nother.
We mean more like a Mr. Feeney situation
yes.
where he's like,
oh, Feeney,
help raise you.
But yeah, there's a lot of pressure from people to, but that's your so-and-so. Mm-hmm. But you guys were married for 15 years. How could you let that go?
And as far as we've come in society, I think there is also an unnecessary pressure to fix things with people.
Yeah.
People are, oh, it's your mom. You have to, go work through it with her. But we know there are people in this world that you can't.
Right.
You can't, whether it's because your beliefs are so different or they are so abusive or so awful or just something about your personalities don't match. You can't always fix these situations, and you don't have to.
Right.
Again, I feel like I've always been able to create close relationships with friends, probably because a lot of lack of family. I was an only child. My mom doesn't get along with her siblings really well. We didn't have any of the rest of my grandparents' family. I wasn't close to my cousins on my dad's side. It's very easy for me to see friends as family. It's always been easy for me to pick who my family is. Sure, it's Christmas, but, I only see my aunts and uncles a couple times a year. I'd rather spend Christmas with my friends that I see a couple times a week.
Right.
Like my family. I don't know where I was going with that. It's probably easier in this day and age with the way social media has evolved and the way we can connect with people outside of our nuclear family groups. But I think there is still a little bit of a block for some people that because they're not blood, they won't understand. Or how do you get that connection with somebody that's not your blood? But for me, it's always been easier. It's so nice to be able to choose who I want to contribute to my life. And it's easier to build a supportive community when you're willing to look at anybody in the world and be like, hey, we could be best friends. You could be my new family. And not have to, I hate to say it this way, but waste the energy on people.
On relationships that really aren't
beneficial to anybody. I
think it's interesting that you bring up social media because I think social media makes it harder to, how do I want to say this? Think of a woman or a man who's in an abusive relationship, like marriage, who's in an abusive marriage. But a lot of times the abuser is so charismatic. They're on social media and they seem amazing. There's pictures of them with, the abusee looking so happy and with the children playing on, taking fishing trips, and none of that's real, but it looks
easy to present that
outside
picture.
Yeah. So, this, forgive me, but this white, shiny, fit male who is attractive could never beat up his wife. She's such a petite, pretty little blonde. And I'm sorry, I'm just using a very stereotypical. Yeah.
There's no way their life could be like that.
Yeah, not at all. She's always looking perfect, and he always has support there for her. And then the camera's off, and he or she is beating the crap out of the other one,
which makes it so much harder to leave.
Yes.
Because who's going to believe you when the outside portrays such a perfect picture?
Yes.
And what type of power do they have because they have this persona of perfection to the outside world?
And
that's a good point.
They're so good at that front face. One thing I faced was the fear of how much I needed one of the people that was cut out of our lives. I thought that we wouldn't be able to function without them. Mm-hmm. We've been fine. In fact, happier than ever because of the break. And it hasn't. But they made us believe that was going to be the case. We weren't going to be able to life without this person involved in our life. It's so tricky. It's so hard. And but you have that permission, we keep saying, but
not that you need our permission, but if you need someone's permission, we are giving it to you, man. We both have set some pretty strict boundaries with family, a couple different types of family, and it is, I went to a lot of therapy before I even knew what boundaries were. I was,
sure,
especially as an only child ADHD girl that read a lot of books. I am a people pleaser to the extreme, and very good at keeping quiet and not speaking up for myself. So I needed a lot of therapy, and for a therapist to look at me and be like, you can say no.
Right.
That's okay.
You don't have to do this.
You are important too. Your feelings matter.
And the funny thing is, like I said, we didn't know if we could survive with cutting that person off. But sometimes you don't cut them off because you're worried they won't.
Yeah. Oh, good. I know a lot about that one. Yes. That is a good point.
If someone is taking from you, when you're gone, they're going to find someone else to take from. Mm-hmm. They're going to manage. They're going to do it because
their survival does not depend on you. They have just convinced you that it does.
Little child, and then take care of them.
Yeah.
Feed them, clothe them. Speak kindly to them.
Do better than we did. I say it a lot. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, but becoming a mom, all I can do is a little bit better than how I was raised.
Absolutely.
And I tell Connor that all the time. Number one, Connor, my job is to raise you into a good human.
Yes.
That means that what I make you do day to day, you might not like me for it, but someday you're going to be a good grown up and you're going to thank me for it. But it is also my job. Lost my train of thought on that too. What was I talking about?
Hi, ADHD. We do the we're not raising a kid, we're raising an adult. Mm-hmm.
And my parents are great, but they weren't always great. And it's nice to be able to look at my kid and be like, hey man, sometimes I mess up, but I'll admit to you that I mess up, and I'm just trying to do a little bit better than what I was given.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. And also I think, speaking of children, becoming a parent gave me a much stronger backbone for boundaries.
Yes.
Once the effect was not just on me, it was going to be on my child. That's where the line was drawn. And
all of a sudden that mama bear comes out.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's no regrets at all for it because my kid will grow up happier and healthier.
Because the boundaries I set are good for my child.
Yeah. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. Because maybe, look, all of our kids are going to need therapy. We're all going to do something terrible. Like, we're all going to suck at least one thing.
Right.
No matter what, as parents. But you can set boundaries and make it better. Mm-hmm. Maybe that boundary will be what they don't have to talk about at therapy.
Right.
I always laugh because whenever we pat ourselves on the back for doing a good parenting thing, like I'll turn around and go to bed that night and think about the 7 things we did wrong or we should have, could have, would have done differently.
It's hard. I feel like we are in a day and age where we are in the best position to raise better kids.
Yes.
Or raise at least nicer kids.
Sure.
I think all the time about our parents' generation acting like they were never wrong. Our parents never apologized to us. They never came back and said, hey, you know what, I shouldn't have yelled at you. I overreacted. I had a bad day at work. I took it out on you. So I feel like our generation, we are a whole generation that can't admit when we're wrong. We don't know how. We've never watched adults admit that they're wrong. Our teachers always had total control. What they said was what happened. We weren't a generation that could question authority the way the current generation can. You know, we were labeled punks or whatever. We didn't have anybody modeling to us how to say, oh, I was wrong about that.
Right.
Oh, now that I have some new information, I understand that I was incorrect. So we're in this politically divided world because none of us can be like, oh, shoot,
I might have been
I was wrong about that.
Or about that person.
Oh, this was some really good information. This helps me make a new opinion. We're somehow stuck in this. No, I made this opinion when I was 19 years old, and I have to stay with it for the rest of my life. Or my parents made this opinion for me, and I have to stay with it because I don't know how to backtrack and say, oh, shoot, you're right, I was wrong.
I have to disclaimer that my mom used to apologize to me all the time when she was wrong.
I love that.
So I gotta give her kudos because I can't just leave it. But to wrap up, when you think about the relationships that you've had to create really strict boundaries with, or that you've had to low contact or completely no contact for people, do you think, and you don't have to get into details here, but do you think there's a way that any of them could be brought back to a general regular relationship?
I think it depends on the individual circumstance because I do have a pretty significant relationship in my life that I have at times had to create strict boundaries with that have been able to heal over time. But there are some that absolutely not. Not only, I mean, sure, if they completely came crawling to me with a well-prepared, thought-out explanation of how they were wrong and they had thought about it and they have changed and this is why and this is how things are going to be different, then sure. But that's never going to happen.
Right.
They aren't the type of people that are going to wake up with that realization. And I have too many people in my life now that I love and that I want to spend time with.
You need to have those old relationships.
Yeah, I'm not. It doesn't. And I guess maybe this is something I'm lucky to have. I'm not desperate for those people. I don't feel like my kid is going to suffer by not having those people in his life. I don't think that we're losing anything. And I feel like we're surrounded in enough love that little bit of it, I don't miss it at all.
Right.
So I'm not willing to try to repair that.
Yeah. Some of them I look at and I'm like, nah, it's not worth it. And there's a lot of hurt there that goes pretty deep and long. And I'm like, I can forgive, but I don't think I ever want to bother again.
Yeah.
It's just not really worth it. I don't want to sound like this, but I didn't get enough out of that relationship.
No, absolutely. It would always hurt. It would always be lingering.
Yeah, there was no support for me. There was not that give and take that relationships are supposed to have. I guess that's what I am trying to say, not to make it sound like I'm looking for something in every relationship.
I mean, if they would buy me a car, maybe I'd forgive them. No.
Why don't you bring me cookies every time we do this podcast? Friendship over.
Aw, that would be cute. I'm going to make you biscuits like Ted Lasso.
Ooh, I like biscuits. But then some of them I think could be in maybe with the excessive therapy would have to it'd have to be some big, strong, meaningful, life-changing life.
It would have to be some life-changing life going on.
Life-changing life. I vastly overestimated how long that wrap-up was going to take us. And it didn't take us more than 2 minutes.
So we can continue to wrap up.
So as we continue to wrap up.
Let me tell you more about wrapping up. I listened. This will kind of wrap it up well. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, and hopefully it didn't get cut. But as much as I am disappointed in the weird timeline that we're existing in right now, I am just tickled by the fact that Snoop Dogg has become the new millennial hero. Like the Olympics thing that he actually like had to try for and train for. I also recently discovered he has a kids show. It's called Doggyland. And it's rapper dogs, basically, that are adorable and they, like, learn life lessons. And he has a song, and it's called Affirmations, and it is a treasure for your soul. It is Snoop Dogg singing about, like, how speaking nice to yourself is good for you and how we can change our thinking by saying these positive affirmations every day. And it's, like, stuff like, my family loves me. I'm a good person. I am good. I'm nice to others. I try my best.
He better not be wrapped up in this P. Diddy
Oh, God,
stuff,
no. He's not.
Because the entire nation will be devastated. It'd be like finding out Betty White was.
Goodness, can you imagine?
Or
I'm already still reeling that Dave Grohl had a baby outside his mirror. Actually, I'm not.
But I think that was fake.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
He actually posted it. Except... like, people are devastated over this, and as much as I love Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, like, Foo Fighters our wedding song is Everlong from Foo Fighters. I've seen them live a couple times, and Dave Grohl seems like a great guy, but I do not ever believe that celebrities are infallible, or that we should worship them, or, like, revolve our lives around them. So the fact that he cheated on his wife and had a baby outside of marriage, like, that sucks for them.
It's almost like a confirmation of what you've thought.
Right, like, he's a rock star. I honestly didn't think he was faithful to his wife.
Hopefully most of them are.
Yeah, but it would surprise me more if, like, his wife had come out and said, like, we've been happily married for all these years and I am 100% sure he's never cheated on me, because you married a rock star that is in a different city every day, like,
with people throwing themselves at him.
And is he still a shitty husband for doing that? Absolutely.
Sure.
But am I going to stop listening to the Foo Fighters over it?
Yeah.
No, because I didn't listen to the Foo Fighters because I thought David Grohl was some sort of infallible Jesus-like person that I should worship.
Right.
So take that what you like. There are still celebrities I will judge on, like P. Diddy. Obviously, if they are horrific, awful people, I judge them and I don't want to support them, or like
Kanye.
I don't buy Kanye's music. I don't listen to Chris Brown. I don't buy Chris Brown's makeup.
I gave you a dirty look like it was your fault that
Totally.
Chris Brown did what he did.
Right?
I'm sorry.
Like, I do have lines with that type of stuff.
You set boundaries with celebrities?
I do set boundaries with celebrities. But so yes, I would be very disappointed if Snoop Dogg was, but I don't think he is. And I think it's weird that he is our new, like, national hero.
Right, like our treasure.
Yeah, but let's protect him at all costs.
Absolutely, because we lost Dame Maggie Smith recently. One down, so we need more.
And
Snoop,
the whole author of those beautiful stories has just taken a fall from grace, too. Can't even trust her. So
anyway, boundaries are good.
Yes,
they're healthy.
And you should listen to Snoop Dogg's affirmation song every morning. When we share this episode, I will share the song because it makes me happy.
So listen to the song every morning. Listen to it right before you think about boundaries. Evaluate relationships that might need some boundaries, and evaluate the people in them and whether you can have a conversation or and let us know if you think that people are just cutting people off too easily and too quickly. Is there an argument for, but they're family?
Yeah.
Are they really going to be the ones that are always there? You know, like, let me know. Let us know.
Yeah.
Only me.
Are you a blood is thicker than water family type person, or do you create your own family, your own bubble?
Or are you somewhere in between?
Yeah.
I think I'm in between.
Absolutely. And I could see that with you.
Yeah. I have one whole set of family that's like super normal.
Very white picket fence-ish.
Yeah. I mean, they're like normal. and so I have some that aren't, but it can't really say much because that whole part is normal.
Jessica had those examples in life where she got to be like, no, like, Leave It to Beaver does exist.
So my mom did apologize when she did wrong.
Right.
My family didn't get together on Christmas because we wanted to show off. We got together because we like each other.
we still get together. We still like each other.
We really look forward to that.
I love that for you.
Thanks. I mean, I do too. Let's be honest.
Right.
Screw all that nonsense.
Well, and on that note, don't stay with shitty people or family members or whatever because you want that so badly.
Yeah.
You're willing to look
that's a
past
good
the
point.
flaws.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that. And that sucks for us. But it can be found other places.
Exactly.
And
you can create it.
Yeah.
And
You don't have to
settle
for the mother you have because you want that picture perfect, we're going to go shopping together and we're going to vacation together and I can tell her everything, when in reality she's using it against you and she'll go shopping with you because she wants you to pay for everything or she wants to talk down to you about what you buy or whatever. Don't force relationships that don't exist.
And no abuse is normal. Just
yes.
If he only hits you because you've spoken out, well, that's not normal.
He should never hit you.
Ever.
That is not love.
Unless it's an accident. Brian kneed me in the face once. By accident. At least that's what he said. I have to go beat up Brian. No,
I have to go investigate this.
So anyway, yeah. That was a shorter episode, but it felt poignant.
Yes, and necessary. There's been some things lately.
Some things. All right.
This was episode 76 of the Dungeons and Dopamine podcast.
True that. You can listen to us anywhere you stream podcasts and or on YouTube. Do both.
I recently let Connor know that I am on YouTube, and he is stoked. You can also support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/dungeonsdopamine.
You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Insta, and Reddit.
Reach out to us on those social medias. Please.
Do it.
Or send us an email at dungeonsdopamine@yahoo.com.
Tell us your boundaries for us.
Yeah. Do you only listen to us on Wednesdays because that is the only day you can laugh out loud?
Erin's going to set a boundary where I can't talk about her van anymore.
Erin has a very strict boundary about being called a kidnapper.
Throwback to last week. Sorry, Erin, I told you I would stop and I lied.
Hank's going to set a boundary on letting us talk about him.
And Dogman. In his Dogman costume.
We understand.
Hank, we are not going to respect your boundary.
we do not accept that.
we retaliate with our own boundary.
Which is
no.
Not. Anyway.
Reach out to us. Set your boundaries with us. They're just stopping listening at this point. Dungeons and Dopamine is edited and published by Argyle Pigeon Productions.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Okay, we love you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.